We will not bow down to racism.
We will not bow down to
injustice.
We will not bow down to
exploitation. I'm gonna stand.
African American civil rights movement refers to the movements in the United States aimed to outlawing racial discrimination against African Americans and restoring suffrage in southern states. This movement placed between 1954 and 1968, particularly in the South.
Come and take a walk with me, closer walk with these, see what all that.
Hello, my name is Lucretia Daniels, and I'm doing a project on the civil rights movement. Today, here I have with me Mr. Brother Jeffries. I'm very excited about this interview because Ms. Jeffries can tell me firsthand on how inequality impacted her life as an African American as well as a human being. Can you start by telling me a little bit about yourself, your family, the year you were born, and where you grew up?
I was born January the 19th, 1922. in Wake County near Roseville, North Carolina. And my parents, of course, were sharecroppers, and I guess you wanted to know just how it was then. At that particular time, it was kind of hard for the African American as a sharecropper to really make it. But because of God's help, we were able to survive. I had 7 brothers and sisters, and 2 of my brothers had muscular dystrophy, and I also have muscular dystrophy. But we didn't let that deter us from pressing our way going on.
What kept your family strong during this period of time?
As I said before, I think it was our faith in God, and then hard work. My father was a hard worker, and he believed that he could make it if he worked hard enough. And it's true that the people who worked hard back there at that time, they didn't receive the pay that they should have received. That was one of the things that was really bad. Either you were overcharged for things in the store more so than other people were.
Did you understand what was going on at this time?
Well, at that time I was about, I guess, 9 years old or something like that. I knew there was a lot of difference between the races, that you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that, and you couldn't go in the front of some stores, you had to go in the back, and you couldn't get jobs in certain places. There was no such thing as getting a job in the state government. That was out of the question. Either, for instance, when industry first came into Wake County, blacks could not get a job in industry except for like taking care of the lawn or either working in the cafeteria.
So if you could have changed one thing back in them days, what would it have been?
I would have changed from, I guess, I would have wanted people to see each other as people, not look at people by their color, or either try to put people in a certain slot and make them stay there. I would have changed that. And I would have wanted to pay people according to the job that they did.
What advice would you give our generation to have a more prosperous future?
Well, I would say to the young generation to work hard, to take opportunities when the door opens for you, you would be able to walk in it because you had gone on and accomplished your education and further to education. I would say to do that and to take time to pray and to keep on pressing on, knowing that things are going to get better because look what we have. We have a black president in the White House.
Civil rights movement with organizations such as NAACP, SNCC, CORE, and SCLC preferred the term Southern Freedom Movement because of the struggle was about far more than just civil rights under the law. It was also about the issues of freedom, respect, dignity, economic, and social equality.
For me, was an experience. Segregation was everywhere.
What other forms of segregation do you remember from growing up?
Everything. The schools, the city buses, the theaters, the movie theaters, everything had a area for blacks. At the lunch counters, at the Woolworth, and there were several stores downtown that I think one was the United Dollar Store. They had a place for black folks to stand. Crest, Five and Dime downtown had a place for black folks to stand. They also had a cafeteria of some sort downstairs, and of course blacks were not allowed to eat there. And of course at Woolworths they always had the lunch counter, and you could stand at the end of the counter and purchase something but not sit down and eat it in the stores.
What prompted you to want to become a social activist?
I always wanted to change, and once I grew up and had children, I never wanted my children to experience the kinds of things that I experienced as a child coming up. And I was just sitting out one day, and this group of women came by, and they said they were from a little organization called Coffee Talk and Action. And they started to talk about Operation Breakthrough, which was new in Durham at that time. That was the anti-poverty program. It was new, and they were trying to get people in communities organized around issues that they felt were important.
So, do you have any significant memories of like activism?
Yeah, going to the meetings, going to meetings with the city council and housing authority, trying to get really rights for people. I mean, it's not a right to rent a person an apartment, and then you come in when you get ready just to see what's going on in there, to see if the mother has a friend there, or that's not, to me, that's personal. That's not your concern, because everybody had company. You even have it in your own home. There were issues like that we had to deal with, and people resenting fixing up the houses. Collecting the rent was a fine thing. If you didn't pay it, they put you out. And then rent it to somebody else the next day, and it's still falling down around you. Refusing to fix up properties. They had several landlords in Durham that were really, really bad during that time. Just didn't repair stuff, and they were all not white. We had some terrible black landlords also, and they would act nasty and talk nasty to you. So there was not just one color. That was just business, and that's the way they operated.
Where would we be without the Civil Rights Movement? Where would we be without Malcolm X, Booker T. Washington, Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, and President Barack Obama? Without the Civil Rights Movement and without the leaders, many of us wouldn't have the rights that we have today, not only for African Americans, but for other races, genders, and disabled human beings.